It is Wednesday, the 10th of December, 2025, and I have a hair appointment this afternoon. I don't get my hair colored, it's been years, but I do want to get bangs again and then maybe just trim my hair a little bit. Anyways, I know no one cares about that, so on with the Instagram feeds before I get into William Donahue and his interpretations of the Bible, which I think was very interesting. But before we get into that, okay, this is regarding Tim Pool, and people need to look more into this. I'm giving this as a start state. This is from Godfather of Chaos, edited one day ago. So Tim Pool, my compound got shot up last night. This is what he was saying. It was circulating, and I didn't look too much into it. But then this came across my research into it a little bit, and I found this really interesting. So Tim Pool's shooter found faster than the police report, and then hashtag it never existed. Possibly, again, more information needs to come out of this. But again, this is a veteran saying this, and he seems to be, again, like acting very professional in this phone conversation with law enforcement. And so anyway, here you go.
Deputy Hutchinson, Jeff Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, hi.
What can I help you with, sir?
So my name is Adam. I go by Adam the Angler online. I run like a very small content creator, accounts on like X and YouTube and whatnot. Anyways, Tim Pool had put out a post on X on December 6th around 8 a.m. saying that there was a shooting that took place at his compound, I guess, his residence / business.
Okay.
I have a possible address but I'm not 100%. But I just wanted to call and just verify that he has contacted you guys, like he said, because something about this just doesn't add up to me. So yeah, I just wanted to see if he's being honest or not, basically.
I mean, the only shooting I'm aware of is the murder that we had up on the mountain last month. I'm not aware of any other shootings.
Okay. Yeah, no one would have been hurt necessarily. He said in his post that it happened around 1 a.m. on the 6th of December, saying that someone approached his property and allegedly fired 3 shots. But then he said what's that?
What's his name?
Tim Pool. He's like a fairly large content creator. He covers a lot of like geopolitics and whatnot.
Okay.
And so I believe he lives within your jurisdiction, as far as I can tell. So I just
So there are no calls associated with him. A report was taken. So
I'm sorry. Say that again. You said a report was taken.
I said I just ran his name in local. So if there had been if he had reported a shooting that we responded to in Jefferson County, it would have shown up in my system. And when I just ran his name, there's no calls associated with the shooting. There's nothing for shootings or. And when I run his address, there's nothing coming up for it, and his name.
Huh. Well, okay. I appreciate that. We'll see if he produces something more on this alleged shooting, because he's literally put nothing out other than saying there was a shooting and that he was in contact with police. And I've called you guys. You haven't heard of anything. And I even just talked to an officer with the Harpers Ferry PD and the incorporated city part or town part, and they said they didn't have one either. So I'm starting to lean towards this might be a hoax.
Yes, this is Deputy Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
So on that, yeah. So more. What so if there's no police report, if you didn't call this into the law enforcement, and there's no proof of it, this is like very interesting to me because, especially during the COVID era, like up until like even 2023. I had been trying to move because my home was doxxed repeatedly. People trying to break into my house, me even getting to my house with my dogs and seeing my door, which was very clearly locked when I left, wide open, and so many other things was happening. And I was contacting law enforcement so that there was a record of this stuff. So this is all stuff that, again, I don't understand why he wouldn't call law enforcement, right? Especially if there's a shooting. And so. If this is another case, again, of like these fucking clowns sometimes, again, I'm not saying that he's lying yet, but again, if there's no report and this is legit and there's been like multiple attempts from multiple police departments in and around where Tim Pool lives, where this allegedly happened, then I don't know. I I find it really hard to believe that he wouldn't call law enforcement if it was actually legit. And you have people like Nick Fuentes, like it does seem legit. Like he, someone like even came to his home when he was doing a live feed, I believe it was. And this guy ended up, he had already murdered a few other people before he went to Nick Fuentes' home. And then law enforcement, they ended up shooting and killing him. I believe when they were attempting to arrest and detain him. But anyway, so that's legit. And so some people, when they see that other people are getting sympathy from people, or they're explaining the experiences they've had being out, like basically in like the battleground areas, right? Like even Steven Crowder, etc., when he was doing his what was it? Change My Mind series. He, like, again, a lot of attacks on him, a lot of trolling, a lot of harassment, etc., etc. And yeah, he had to have security and stuff like that as well. I was asking people even that I had worked with before, like with security details, if they could literally just like do like a detail, you know, ever so often, like around my house, because I was literally feeling so unsafe because literally my home was already doxxed. Multiple different groups doxed my home, tagged my home, social media posts, all this stuff. And yeah, so if he's just trying to get clout off the backs of people who actually risked their lives and had their homes doxed and attacked and stalked and harassed, then again, that's really disturbing to me. Again, this is like the left does that stuff with the fake attacks and stuff like that Democratic elected official that she had claimed that she had been assaulted, and like it was fake blood on her face, and it was very clear, and it turned out that she was making it up, and other people as well alleging that there was a rope to hang themselves with, like in their office, and again, that turning out to be not true. That was her that planted that stuff in her own office. And again, I really hate it when people play victim and when they lie about it. This is the same as like the hashtag Me Too movement. It was so hard to even oh my God, even hear people talking about that when there were very clearly people who were lying and exaggerating, witch hunts. So Tim Pool, interesting. Oh, this guy. He was a cabinet minister even during COVID. He was the heritage minister when heritage sites were getting approved to be destroyed and demolished by Taggart for Madame Minto fucking homes for non-Canadians at accelerated rates again. And so Ottawa has literally been profoundly impacted since 2019, 2020. And you can thank people like this who, there was a grift. He's making a lot of money off of it, shares in stocks and companies. And anyways, Election Canada is investigating why a series of staffers and donors who supported ex-Trudeau Liberal cabinet minister Pablo Rodriguez bid for the Quebec Liberal Party leadership received identical $1,000 lump sum payments from the party. So bribing people to vote for elected officials. $1,000. Let's look at this. And again, this guy should be in jail. I have sent emails to him and I've shared the receipts, even in 2021, 2022 period, etc., calling his office and sharing information with him, and gaslit. Yeah, so our cabinet. Oh, and there was something else I wanted to share before I get into this video of William Donahue, because we're talking about Algoma Steel and all of this stuff, and there's like someone that's like really not getting the attention he deserves for destroying his area and destroying essentially business. Oh, where is it? Okay, all right. Okay, so the Member of Parliament MP for Sault Ste. Marie is Terry Sheehan, a Liberal MP representing the riding of Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, serving since at least the 44th Parliament, so 2021 to 2025, so the worst period of Canadian history for cabinet ministers, being literal morons. Anyway, okay, and continuing into the current 45th Parliament, 2025 to present. He actively engages in committees like Indigenous and Northern Affairs, ENAN, and supports local economic developments through investments and addressing issues like Algoma Steel layoffs, working with FedNor and other government bodies. Key details about Terry Sheehan: Liberal, riding, Sault Ste. Marie Algoma, roles: Chair of Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Labor and Seniors. Look what's happened in those departments, in that area. Worst leader probably from this area as well. And it was focus, economic development, job creation, innovation, and support for workers. You know what the example is for this that they're giving him even now till this day? For key details, Algoma Steel. Well done. Liberals are literally destroying this country from the inside out. And not even for a lot of money. Weak sauce. Anyway, on to the show. And I have to take off within the next hour and a half, so can't talk too much throughout this. Okay. So, episode 485, The Shadow Knows, William Donahue, from 11 years ago. It's just nice to pivot and switch directions when things get too stressful with Canada. We're just a mess right now.
I wanted to show you something before we get into this subject of the shadow. I wanted to show you tampering with the Bible, and I wanted to show you how you run into such difficulties when you take the Bible literally, and how also it's very important for us to realize that the Bible, as beautiful as it is a book. People have changed it for their own purposes. And what you're going to see with your own eyes in the Bible itself is tampering with the Bible to make a point about the submission and submissiveness of women and the degrading of women done by somebody in the Bible, written in the Bible. Watch it with me, and I'll show you something very interesting. And then we'll go into the shadow. Go to page 58, and let's take a look. And I want you to put your finger there and hold it there. It's the book of Exodus, and it's Exodus chapter 13, if you would look there. Okay? Exodus chapter 13. I want you to look at verse 2, and if you're sitting there, somebody that has one, just look over their shoulder, because you should see this. It's on page 58. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Sanctify to me all the firstborn." Do you see that? "Whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine." Okay? Now, read that, look at that again. "Sanctify unto me all the firstborn." Do you see that? It means whatever is firstborn is holy. And there's this mystical reason for it. Keep your finger there. Now, I want to show you how the Bible was changed for a purpose to degrade women. Okay? I want you to go to Luke chapter 2. And I want you to look at page 832. Page 832. Because it's good that you... Now, just flip back again. Take a look at Exodus 13:2. "Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb." All right? That's very important that you see that. Now go back to page 832 and look how this was changed by a Bible writer with the express purpose of degrading women. Look at Luke chapter 2, verse 23. "As it is written in the law of the Lord," quote, "every male that opens the womb shall be called holy unto the Lord." You see that? Now there's tampering with the Bible by a Bible writer with the express purpose of degrading women. That's God's holy word. They tampered with. And if you take the Bible literally, you have to deal with these things. That's why I very seldom get anybody to argue with me anymore because it's there. You see? Now you saw it yourself. It says in Exodus, "Sanctify all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb." It was changed that every male that opens the womb shall be called holy. How do you deal with that? Okay? The reason and the way you deal with that is, remember, the Word of God is not a book. It is a beautiful, as Mariah Carey sang, hero inside of you. That's the Word of God. And you have to be careful. And that's why the destruction of so much of our moral fiber by people who follow a book. Books can be changed. And this book, like all books, was handed down from generation to generation, and people changed it to suit their own purposes. In this particular instance, you had an ancient scripture that was changed to suit a social purpose of the day. Okay? Last Sunday, we looked at the parenting. And we saw that how forcing children to suppress their true personalities results in such complex problems that we see in the world today. And when Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, were beginning and put this together, they also took it one step further, looking at our religious experiences, because you can carry then the question of parent and child to the point of church or pastor and you. Same problem. The same problem that Freud and Jung saw in organized religion, which is obviously the case. See, because Christianity becomes a parent. See, it has you striving to be perfect. It has you striving to be pure. The problem is that perfection and purity doesn't exist on the level such as human beings endure. It's not possible. See, even the realm of God doesn't allow it. Regardless of what churches say, regardless of what religion says, you have to strive for a balance. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Go to page 781, Matthew chapter 5. Page 781, Matthew chapter 5, okay? I want to just call for a moment on that which is within me to just rush in and carry me now, because, get a little bit difficulty getting started. And I can always tell when, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. But let's just pause for a second, okay? Each one, if you would, just with me and just allow that just within us to open itself to us. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, page 781, verse 48. Jesus Christ says, "Be perfect even as your Father in heaven, which is perfect." Your Father which is in heaven is perfection. The perfection is as your Father in heaven. The Father in heaven is the higher mind. The mind is the Father. That which is heaven is the higher aspects of the mind. And Jesus Christ is saying, this is what you've got to strive for. You can't strive for physical perfection. You can't strive for human perfection. It's absolutely impossible to strive for that. But you strive for touching that which is within you, which is the higher mind, the mind which is the Father, the higher mind which is heaven. Strive for that. Be perfect. That's why Jesus said, take no thought. You reach an absolute perfection. Cindy was talking a few moments ago about nam myoho. The nam myoho is simply to drive out that which is the lower aspects of consciousness and free ourselves to rise into that which is the Father. And that's what Jesus is saying. Be perfect. The perfection of the higher mind, the Father in heaven. And perfection can only exist there. When you free yourself from all thoughts of the human mind, when there are no more thoughts from the human mind, then you have entered into that realm of perfection. And how much time do you need there? I was talking to a young lady in New York on the phone the other day, and she says she goes to these Buddhist things, and she tries to get into meditation. She says, bores are crazy. A person in New York City who's working every day, who's jumping on subways, who's jumping on buses, to sit down for 45 minutes or an hour into a Buddhist type of ashram, and it's almost impossible. I said, you don't have to. 15 seconds of silence, 15 seconds of perfection. Duck into a bathroom somewhere and just shut yourself down for 15 seconds, just like we did here. That's all you need. All you need is when you feel that you're under the push of the lower, is to just set yourself for 15 seconds and allow that power to pour through and lift you up. It's not necessary for you to sit for hours upon end in meditation. In fact, it's probably, especially in our particular case, it's probably, it would probably upset you, because you can't, you're trying to reach a goal. You haven't been able to reach that goal. You're trying to find yourself. You're trying to make something happen and nothing happens, instead of just yielding yourself. The most beautiful thing about meditation is to find that you don't have to do anything. You can't do anything. There's nothing you can add to it. There's nothing that you can put into it. There's no technique that's required of you. All that's asked of you is to sit still. Be still. Be still. And then allow it to come and take you. Allow the Christ within to come and take you. So when religion misreads this physical human perfection, it causes within people a repression of their true self, a frustration, a guilt. All of a sudden, you're trying to be like they are. And then you look back like we look back at all of the years of what they are, and we find out that what they are is pure hell itself. Pure hell exists. All of the religious training, ever since Jesus went, they've got churches on every street corners, and they got popes, and they got bishops, and they got evangelists, and they got ministers, and they got stained glass, and they got Amazing Grace, and they got drug outreach centers in every community in the world. Because they got everybody fakakta. Everybody's crazy trying to be the way they said you should be. And nobody can be that way. And even the ones who sit behind the pulpits can't be that way. Pointing the finger at you, you worthless sinner, come up and be saved, and then putting their books away and jumping over the fence and running to Lulu's motel. And there's no problem with them running to Lulu's motel. If he's got to get it out of his system, get it out with Lulu, fine. But don't point the finger at everybody else. And see, this is the point. When you really look at the scriptures, there's no reason that you have to live under that guilt. See, that's what you need to do. You need to just express yourself. Do whatever you want to do. Just two conditions. One, you can get sick. Two, you can't hurt anybody else. Other than that, do what you want to do. I don't care what anybody says. Crazy. That's it. Enjoy it. Be crazy. Be absolutely nuts. Be the way that you want to be, because something is telling you you have a mission. It's not going to line up with the system, but is this what you want to be? Do you want to say, I have to be like them? I have to fit in? Fit in with what? What do you want to fit in with? And the reason that you're all sitting here, you know why you're sitting here looking at this bizarre person saying these bizarre things, is because you never were able to fit in. It's the only reason you're here. And you're saying there must be something different. There must be a different way. There's got to be something that I'm missing. And you know what you're missing? You've never met yourself. Yourself that came out of your mother's womb was instantly changed by your mother and your father to be the way they wanted you to be. And yourself was gone, just like that. It's like the guru said, Mommy and Daddy got you. And Mommy and Daddy did everything they could to see that you were raised and made into what they wanted you to be. And the guru said that's the difference between a mommy and a daddy and a mother and a father. A mother and a father will make you be the very best you could be. A mommy and a daddy will make you be what they want you to be. And that's what religion does. Take a look. What's your life been? You happy? Successful? That's the way you wanted it? That's the way they want you. They don't want you to succeed. The only reason they would want you to succeed is because your wallet gets bigger, and 10% of that is a good deal. But they don't want any other part of you to succeed. They want you to submit. And Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud said, we have destroyed ourselves because we have taken our God-given personalities and said, you shouldn't be like that. First thing, watch it sometimes. The first thing you'll see, and I can't do this too much because I get sick, kids spin. Kids spin. What is the first thing you do when a kid spins? Stop it! You're going to get dizzy! We don't understand it. You should spin. Everybody should spin. If I didn't get seasick, I would spin. Do you know, sometimes, if you can get the tape, see the whirling dervish in Turkey. Do you know they spin for hours, 3.5 hours, they spin, spin, spin. And the music, and they wear these long skirts and the skirts, and they go into an ultimate ecstasy of meditation. Because they're in harmony with the whole universe, spinning. Everything spins. Do you ever notice when you flush the John? Spins. Everything spins. Spin, spin. What's the first thing you tell a kid? Don't spin. See? Everybody gets neurotic. They dress the kids up and take them down to the boardwalk, and the kid sits in the sand. Don't sit in the sand. They go near the water. Don't go near the water. They get ice cream. You're getting ice cream all over your face. The water's to get wet in, and the sand is to stick in, and the ice cream is to smear all over your face. That's what it's for. But you made it neurotic. When we said last week, don't ever let me see you touching yourself there again. And I'm the only one in the world that knows about that. So all of a sudden you retreat to some secret place. And they never will see you touching yourself there. They will never hear you. And all of a sudden you found out that you have secrets you have to keep from them. You didn't know that they had secrets they kept from you. They're in a little closet with their skeletons. And now as a little child, you're in a little closet with yours. And everybody is absolutely nuts. And the reason is we couldn't accept our God-given personality. It didn't fit in with the system, even though the system is bankrupt and violent and corrupt. Look what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, page 781. Matthew chapter 5. And in verse 45. Jesus is very clear concerning the human physical part. You may be children of your Father which is in heaven, that's your mind, for he makes his sun to rise on the evil and the good. And he sends rain on the just and the unjust. Huh? Notice something, he's not just talking about the sun, he's talking about the rain. See? He's not just talking about the good, he's talking about the evil. Why? Because it's part of the same thing. It's the power that you exist with. It's neutral. There's no power that comes to hurt you. The electricity, we've told you about that. Electricity is a neutral power. It is not here to burn the building down unless you misuse it. If you misuse it, guaranteed you'll burn the building down. But use it, look what it does. It makes heat, it makes light, it makes music, it makes all of these wonderful things when it's used properly. See, when you plant a poisonous berries in the ground, the earth doesn't say, oh, we can't grow this, it's poison. It takes whatever you put in and it'll grow it. See? And so Jesus Christ is saying, listen, he makes the sun to come on those who are evil as well as those who are good. He sends the rain on the just as well as the unjust. He's not talking about, see, religion says you've got to, here's the point. This is the point that we're trying to make, and this is the point. This is what Carl Jung called that part of your personality, which is the negative, which is absolutely necessary. He called it the shadow. If you take electricity, I'm not an electrician, but there's a positive, there's a negative. Did you ever try to jump the battery to get it started? You can't just do it with one part. You got to hook both of them up. One's the positive, one's the negative. If you just put the positive on there, it isn't going to work. And don't you see, will you get it through? Don't you see what I'm trying to tell you? Religion has said, you got to get rid of this. And you've been trying all of your life to get rid of something that is extremely vital to your survival. That's like saying, we've got to get rid of the negative aspects of electricity. Then you go into darkness. It's exactly what you've done. You're trying to rip out a very essence of yourself because religion doesn't understand the essence, and they call it evil, they call it Satan, and they say we got to get rid of it. And you're ripping out of your very soul an aspect that you have to understand. And it is vital for you to survive. And this is what you do to kids. We've never got to know, we've never got to let them know about their shadow personality. We don't know about their shadow personality. We never sit down and say, why do you feel like this? Oh no, we don't talk like that in this house. Right? I don't ever want to hear that again. Do this. Why? Because I said so. Never, ever understand. And the reason we talk like that is because we don't understand the shadow within us. So we've never tried to understand the shadow within them. And with vital part of our personality, we ignore it. See? According to Jesus, that we just read in this Bible, God sends the shadow. Huh? He sends the shadow. It's a vital part. It's a very important thing. Because if God's way is to allow for these troubles and these tensions to work themselves out, who are we then to say, to insist on this perfection? You want to have all sunlight, and then everything would die from too much sun. because it's got to get dark. It's got to rain. There's got to be winds. There's got to be all of these parts of things that are nature. See, we say, no, we've got to get rid of it. That's what religion is. But they can't get rid of it. They're filled with it. Every single person who stands on one of these platforms, whether it's churches or stained glass, is filled with the shadow that they've never been able to deal with, and yet they're trying to drive it out of you. And the same way, you have to be so careful with another person, especially young people. They've got something they're trying to tell you. But nobody wants to listen because what they're trying to tell us doesn't equate with our system. But our system stinks. And they're the ones who have come. They're the ones who are closest to God. They're younger, and they're trying to tell us something. But we can't listen to them because they're young. We're experienced in screwing things up, so we've got to be allowed to continue. Don't worry, you just shut up. Someday you'll be able to afford Valium too and have a psychiatrist like I have. Okay. I want to show you something that very few religious people look at and listen and understand. And one of the beautiful things that you find as you start to come into meditation and you really start to evolve in that right hemisphere, you start to look at people who dress differently, who maybe have their hair differently, who talk differently and think differently, and you sit down and say, share with me, what is it? Because it's not just young kids, teenagers in the United States that dress differently, that have their hair differently. There are also followers of Krishna and Buddha that dress differently and have their hair differently. And finally, we've been, at this stage in our evolution, willing to say, would you tell us, what is it? And listen. But let me show you something. It says in page 925, the Bible, the book of Romans. What Vinny was talking about earlier about Christy Whitman, the new governor, and the change, it is part of Uranus. It's upheaval all over the place. Anything that you think you can count on, wipe it out. You don't know. You don't know. And God knows you don't even know what's going to happen to her. Because Uranus doesn't tolerate anything that moves along in a smooth flow. So I wouldn't want to be any of these people today. Really. You won today? Tell me about it tomorrow. Tell me about it tomorrow. Romans chapter 9, verse 20. Look what Paul says. Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why have you made me this way? You see this? Has not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? What do you do with that? Whose sin is it? You say, oh, this person's living in sin. It just says in the Bible there that God makes people unto dishonor. It's his problem. Get off their back, blame him. Have the guts to stand up in the pulpit and say, God, you screwed this up. You made these people this way. Oh, no, homosexuals are sinners. They're going to hell. It's the wrath of God. The scientists are finding out it's genetic. Then blame him. What the heck do you make him for? Maybe he's a homosexual. Did you ever think of that? You're going to go to heaven. You're going to go meet God. And God says, well, hello. Name's not Jehovah, it's Bruce. Great to have you here. I want you people. What are you giving me such a hard time there for, huh? You want to go to heaven? Yeah, but how do you know it's not the way it is? How do you know? It says in the Bible, he has destroyed the wisdom of the wise. Boy, that'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like the guys that killed the rats in the spaceship. I mean, the first thing that could happen to them, unless they, get out of the, walk up and there's a big rat standing there that can talk. Do you remember that trip we took? Call it karma. See, but if you read where Paul is saying, what right does a person have to complain about the one who made the clay. You got to then look at it mystically. We're not talking about God deliberately making someone unto dishonor. We're talking about creation of nature where people are simply born different. Nature just does things. And it does things based on a whole bunch of things that are put into the pot. Genetics, you want to call it genetics, whatever you want to call it. People come out differently. There's things that happen. You know, there are fires. We just saw the terrible fires. There are hurricanes. There are all of these things that happen. See? But even people are hurricanes. People are fires. People are earthquakes. We can't deal with it. We can't live with them because of their difference. See? Society doesn't. Remember the young lady called us who we met in New York, and she had introduced herself to us, and she called on the phone the other night. I was telling Joan, and she said, I was really afraid to call because I didn't think that, I thought maybe you would reject me. But she said, you know, I didn't think Joan would reject me because I saw her aura, and she has an aura of forgiveness. But she says, you were kind of tense that night, so I thought maybe you.
Got your number.
So, but do you know why she said that? No, seriously, do you know why she said it? Let me tell you why she said it. Because as a child, she has spent her whole life being rejected. We're talking about her. She does some TV stuff up in here, but she was pregnant in her mother's womb. Get this one. Get this one. Her mother was carrying her. Her father went out, met her mother's, if you can follow this, her mother had a girlfriend. Her mother's sister had a girlfriend. Her father, while her mother was pregnant, met the mother's sister's girlfriend and got her pregnant. The mother's sister's girlfriend gets hold of the telephone number and calls up to see if Rocky's home. Instead, he gets Helen, this girl's mother. Helen is carrying this girl, finds out that this other person is pregnant with another one. And what happened is the mother turned totally against what she was carrying. It became trash to her because so she's been running all of her life. She's very beautiful physically, but she's all screwed up. And her first thing was, I was afraid to call because I thought you would reject me. Because everybody rejects her. And not because they do, this is the way she perceives it. This is her thing. Destruction, destroyed. See? So we're talking about the creations of nature where people are born different. Their differences are not allowed by society. And so what they try to do is suppress themselves. And this is what Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, I will give you the choice any day of the week. I've made my choice. You can either listen to Carl Jung or Sigmund Freud or Jimmy Swaggart and Oral Roberts. And the world has listened to Jimmy Swaggart and Oral Roberts, and you can see the difference. Carl Jung says, look at your children and look at the society in which you live and then speak to them and allow them to talk to you and try to mold them into being that personality that they are and not try to make it into something that we want them to be. Jesus is portrayed as the Christ, the symbol of perfection. Nobody according to the Bible, nobody according to the words that we've grown up with could have been more perfect than him, right? But look, let me show you something. Look at page 807 in the Bible, Matthew chapter 27. When you try to strive for perfection, and what's being said here is something deeply mystical. Nobody could be more perfect than Jesus according to everything that we've ever been taught. But what does he say? Matthew chapter 27, look at verse 46. And he cries with a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? I am perfection, yet I am forsaken. See a little something in there? You see anything in there that gets you? Verse 46, what time is it? 9 Number 9 means consciousness. Okay? And this is that which is the feeling of consciousness. You have forsaken me. But now let me tell you something here. Who was the light of the world according to the scriptures? Jesus. Huh? Who did God forsake? The light.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're forsaking the light, then you must be embracing the darkness. Who did God embrace? The darkness. See? If God is forsaking the light of the world, he is embracing the darkness, then everything is embraced by God, by nature. Light and darkness are equally embraced. Nobody is forsaken. But if you're going to live in this world, you've got to allow yourself to break down the conditions of the training that you had from religion. You've got to take all of the religious training you've ever had, and you've got to go into the bathroom with it, and you've got to flush. And then you've got to stand totally new and say, wait a minute here, enter, I have cleansed everything from within me. I need now to start to live and to find what nature is, to find what life is, and to be part one-on-one with you. There's no other way to do it. And that means all of your traditions have to go. All of your allegiances have to go. All of your patriotisms have to go. All of your political connections have to go. All of your denominations have to go. And you have to come totally one-on-one with that which is nature, that which is the creator within yourself, and say, now I have to understand because men have lied to you. You have been lied to. Now you have to understand. So it is not that darkness is bad. Darkness is simply different. It is a society that portrays it as bad. Do you hear? Listen to what I said. It is not that darkness is bad. Darkness is simply different, but the society says it is bad. They say, you must live in the light. You must follow. Even remember the song? I saw the light, I saw the light. No harm. Everyone wants to see the light. Let me show you something. Go with me to page 747 because you want to see the light. Okay? Page 747. And on page 747, I want you to see Amos chapter 5. All right? Go with me to verse 20. Now watch what he says. Will you look at it? Look at it with your own eyes. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? What's being said? Did people see the light when they die? I saw this bright light. The Bible says it's darkness. Why? Because that which is light is the darkness of meditation. The ancient mystics knew that when you retreat deep within yourself into the darkness of meditation, there is light. When you are outside in the lightness and the brightness of that which is what we call the world, there is darkness. You're not looking at me seeing light. You're seeing darkness. I'll tell you how dark it was. Joan and I went looking for a place to eat last night. I said, let's go out. Let's find some place. She said, let's go to Vesuvius. I said, I can't take any Italian. I don't want any. We look on Italian. Incidentally, for those of you who'd like to join us for lunch today, we're going to the church function is going to be held at the Dry Dock Inn. So you can do a little Texas two-step as well. But anyhow, Joan and I went out looking for a place that, we went up the Cowboy. The Cowboy. Well, we had the cow, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the food. But I got a kick out of it. Joan and I years ago used to go to a place called Rack's Hut. They used to have a pig in there that stood up on its hind legs and they guzzled beer. This was a real swinging joint that we went to years ago, Anyhow, last night, it was a whole different scene. There was people in there in their 70s and 80s. All dressed in their boots and their cowboy, and they're doing the Texas two-step, and they're all doing line dancing. It was like a church social. What the heck is this place, But it was nice, okay? But it was just the idea. What I would love, I was a feeling, I would love to see somebody see us coming out of there. We saw them coming out of the Cowboy.
Tell everybody how you enter.
No. I went the wrong way in the one-way, and she freaks out in the parking lot. There was no one-ways in the parking lot. I did it 2 times. I couldn't find it because it was dark out. Anyhow, what I'm trying to point to you is that don't suppress anything. If you go to the Cowboy, if you go to the casino, wherever you go, but put your head up. I'll tell you what they do. The Christians, they go to the casino, they go to Las Vegas. They don't want to take chances anybody will see them in Atlantic City. But they go. So just be free. Be free. And open yourself. See? And stop suppressing, because the more but that suppression is on a grander scale. You also suppress things within your family and within your house. And you suppress the way you feel. You can't talk to other people, and it starts to build within you, and the suppressions become that which is a condemnation. The condemnation becomes that which is an obsession with that which is wrong, and that which is wrong within you becomes a guilt, and the next thing you know, you got a sickness or a disease. So religion rightly says we are saved by grace, just as we are. You don't have to change your personalities. You simply have to find that which is the Christ within you. Because I'll tell you something. When you understand the Christ within you, you understand that that same darkness exists outside. And you can maybe try in whatever you're doing to suppress your life. But now, see, you'll find a difference that you are accepted. Even though you couldn't overcome the shadow, you've learned to understand who the shadow is within you, and you've learned to live with the shadow. That's why Jesus says, if you see corn growing and it's got weeds attached to the wheat, leave the weeds alone. Don't pull the weeds out, because you're going to pull out some of the good wheat with it. Just leave it alone. Right? Jesus is forsaken. And you know what the Apostle Paul, can I show you something? Is this the Word of God? The Holy, what does it say in the Bible? What does it say in the front of it? The Bible. Can I show you something really interesting? You know what this word means? What is this? It means deceit.
Yeah.
You know what deceit means? You're a liar. I want you, any of you that happen to go to born-again churches, I want you to share this with the pastor sometime. Would you do this for me? Go to page 950. Let me show you something. Say, Pastor, yeah. That fellow in the blue shirt down in the basement. Who was the greatest writer the Bible knew? Paul. Huh? Romans, Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, all that stuff. Huh? Let me show you something. Very few people have seen this. In fact, if you go out of here today hearing nothing I've said, you won't forget this one. Watch this. 2 Corinthians, you there? Chapter 12, go to verse 16. Be it so, I did not burden you, nevertheless, being crafty, I caught you with guile. The premier writer of the Bible was a self-admitted liar. What else did he lie about? Join me, would you? How do I know? The Bible told me so. But you can't doubt a word. You can't doubt a word the liar told you. And you can't get a priest or a minister or a bishop to say that Paul was a liar. But to his everlasting credit, he admitted it. I deceived you. And they still do, don't they? Real quick, because we got to get going. I wanted to just show you something about the Apostle Paul and his dealing with the shadow within him. Go to page 924. That's not to put Paul down, because the man did something that most religious people don't do. He told the truth. Romans chapter 7 and verse 15. Huh? Look what Paul says. For that which I do, I allow not. In other words, you know what he just said? You know what he just said? Yeah, it's right here. Look at that. He said, that which I do, I allow not. In other words, what he said is, I tell you, I don't allow that in this church. But you know what? I do it. Do you see what he said there? What I do, this is written by Jimmy Swaggart. That's the gospel according to Jimmy. Don't you dare ever be seen going down to Lulu's. That which I do, I allow not. All right, what you just put it on. Just put it on pause and okay. I know we got to get out of here. But look what he says. Okay, that I do, but what I hate, that's what I do. If then I do that which I would not, I consent to the law. So now then it is no more, get this one. You want to see the ultimate cop-out? Ready for this, Albert? It's not me. It's sin that's doing it. So don't blame me. Why doesn't anybody ever read that to you? Do you see it in the book? Why did they ever tell you that? So it's okay for Paul to admit and get on with his life, but for the Christian or for religious people or for children, we carry the guilt. We put the guilt on children. We make a false self because society and religion doesn't accept that shadow. Many people who enter into meditation for the first time, and I have seen this and I've made a few mistakes with it, many people for the first time will enter into meditation and they'll have a vision of the shadow. And it can appear as a wolf, can appear as a vicious animal, can appear as something that looks demonic. You are looking face to face with the bottled up part of your personality. And it's covered in the part of the Bible. Remember when Jesus went into the cemetery and two came out with demons, and then they jumped into the pigs and went over the cliff? When you go into the cemetery of your soul, you'll see it for the first time, and then it'll be gone. You'll never see it again. But many times when people meditate for the first time, they have visions of wild animals or some horrible-looking thing. You're looking at that soul, which has been bottled up and screaming to get out of there.
Can confirm.
So that's what we're looking for, the balance. There's always the structure of individuals trying to deal with their shadow nature. But religion doesn't allow it, since they don't understand it. And that's the problem with religion as we end this thing. That which is a normal part of our lives and our personality to be studied and discussed is outlawed. They'll never discuss it. Ruth Judkins, my teacher here, school teacher, she brought me in the article by Ann Landers. As Ann Landers is 75 years old, know what she's prescribing? Masturbation.
Oh.
Do you hear the quiet here? You know why?
This is a weird topic for Wednesday.
Simply because she's expressing herself. It doesn't make any difference whether it's right, doesn't make any difference. It's simply that it has a time for people to discuss things. There is a subject people wouldn't even discuss or admit exists. You just simply talk about it. Think about it. And in the same way that we're talking about the shadow, we're talking about the negative aspects of the personality. Think about it. Talk about it. Get adult about it. Get it up on top of the table and get things out of the repression of the mind. The shadow is not to be chased away. It is to be understood. It is to be embraced, because in your difference is the source of your problems. And basically what Buddha or Shakyamuni would call the shadow, as opposed to what Carl Jung called it, Shakyamuni would call it karma. And by trying to cast it out, you never learn to benefit from what lesson is being given to you. You have to spend time with the shadow, and it will come to be the origin of your being. Because the shadow, listen to this last thing that I'm saying to you. The shadow, according to Carl Jung, who's one of the most preeminent psychoanalysts the world has ever known, is an accumulation of your past lives and your past hurts. The shadow is an accumulation of your past lives and your past hurts. And by suppressing it or chasing it, you fail to learn so that you can be made whole. And that's God who dwells within you is trying to show you by way of the shadow. Thank you very much.
That was so interesting. All right. I got to go soon anyways. And, there was other updates ongoing that I was looking through and chatting with people as the video was going, including James O'Keefe, because he just had another date, undercover date, I guess in the last few days, and he may or may not be exposing the meeting he had. I don't know what's going to be said, and so if it's something that is like a big exposure piece, then yeah, you could possibly dox this guy. But if it's not something like that's major significant, or that he can like share possibly without doxing this guy, then he could leverage that relationship. And yes, it could be considered blackmail. It's definitely in the gray. That's not what I mean. And so if this person can be a willing participant, if he's willing to again be on the right side of the truth and like not bury things or cover things or cover his own ass, etc. But if he's gonna lie and cheat and steal and stuff like that, then sure, dox him. But if he's willing to like work with you and not feeling compelled or obliged because you have dirt on him, then like that's a different story, and that's a contact that he can have for many years, And you know, and if he doesn't dox him, then he could still work within the area that he's working in and not be, you know, like under suspicion of people and things like that, and still carry on like the same relationships he had with people in order to get access to the same information that he was giving to James. And so it's definitely in the gray. And so this happens a lot, anyways. Um, and even myself, like there are people that I've had meetings with, gatherings with, where I've gotten a lot of good information from people. There are also people that I do have dirt on, and but I would never incur, or sorry, not incur. I would never cause reputational damage to people that I do respect, or that I do think, you know what I mean, would be at risk of me getting this information out for, like, for them being targeted or their family and friends being targeted, etc. And so there are people that I've absolutely called out publicly, even did videos on it. But these are people that again have been corrupt for years, and they're not going to stop, and they're not open or willing to actually listen to people that are giving them medical, scientific, and government data. I'm talking about people like Patty Hajdu, the Vera Etches, the Marco Menincinos, the Bill Blairs, et cetera, et cetera. People again have called out Chrystia Freeland, people that were supposed to provide accurate information and details and get us out of certain events, and they're the ones that created it or supported and enabled it, because anyways, I don't think they're smart enough to do this on their own. They're like the UN and WEF and the World Health Organization and the steering committees, the Bilderberg groups, are absolutely convincing these morons that you know, to do what they're doing. So I do think that people within our government at the highest levels are actually being blackmailed, and they're actually being bribed, uh, directly and indirectly, with bonuses, with kickbacks, with, you know, insider trading type deals, so that people put shares and stocks into certain companies prior to like significant events, knowing that this is going to happen and that a lot of money can be made. I've shared this. This happens all the time. Where was it going with this? Yeah, and so this is already happening with people that are doing this internationally, and it's destroying our country. So sometimes maybe, you know, fighting fire with fire, you know, but obviously within the confines of the law. And this is why, like, this needs to be government people that are going after these people, investigating them, charging them, arresting them, having them, you know, be forced to resign, and more people within government exposing the actual crimes that these people have committed, because then they're free. You can't be blackmailed anymore. You can't be bribed anymore. Everyone knows, but they're not. And there's so misleading, so many misleading stats out there regarding crimes and criminality and who's responsible for what, and just like, even within Nick Fuente's Piers Morgan interview, I haven't seen the whole thing because it's frustrating. Because Piers Morgan, I understand, by the way, when he's like calling Nick out on things that he said, which is absolutely just wild. Yeah, absolutely wild. I do not subscribe to at all, like with things that he has said. But again, he's a different genre. He's highly successful with what he's done. He's definitely reaching more people, and a lot of information that he does share is actually really, really good and really accurate. And he's very, articulate. And he's only 27 years old. It's just incredible. But Piers Morgan, he's not even understanding, and I could see the frustration in Nick, because he is a young man, you know, full of piss and vinegar, whatever you want to say, and Piers is saying things that are just so blatantly incorrect, and he has a full team of people that are helping feed him information that is just propaganda and actual bullshit, and if you look at the stats coming out of the U.S., and I've shared this before in previous videos, but just per 100,000 people, offenders for homicide offenders. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will. My fucking grok and stuff like that. I restarted my computer, so I don't know if I'll have those conversations, but I'll see. But it just shows you the stats on offenders per 100,000, broken down by white men, black men, white women, black women. And these are stats. So again, this is objective data. So if anyone wants to come at me, calling me a racist for sharing this stuff, like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm just giving stats. So anyway, I just got to do, whenever it refreshes, I have to. Come on. There we go. All right. So how high up do I have to scroll here? Brian Cole, yeah. But even if I don't get it, okay, here we go. And again, verify with other stats as well. This is just from Grok, and Grok does get things wrong as well. And so I'll just give you the comparisons for 2020 and 2024. 2024 obviously being an estimate at this point, but you'll see here it's broken down. White men rates per 100,000 of offenders, homicide rates, and this is coming directly from government data from the CDC, FBI, and JAMA. Focuses on victimization or general offending. Offending rates for white women and black women are consistently and by the way, this is low. Black men the highest. Okay, so 2020, so white men, white women, black women. So white men offenders per 100,000, roughly on average 7.8 white men per 100,000. Black men rates per 100,000, 60 to 70. Okay, much higher, more like 8 times or plus higher. Okay, and again, these are just stats. White women rates per 100,000 for offenders for homicide, 2.5 to 3. It's been consistently low. Even 2010, it was like less than that. It's usually the least likely. But you've got people like Tamara Leach and Helen Gruce and countless other women I know that are getting subjugated to friggin' harassment by law enforcement, and I was as well, by the way. And I'll share my story at some point. I have a little bit. And yeah, you've seen us threats to Canada, put us in jail, all of this bullshit. And then we also have men that are alleging that they're women now too, that are sullying the stats and the results. And so anyways, 2.2 to 2.5 per 100,000 for white women, way less than anyone across the board. That's and then 18 to 20 per 100,000 for black women. So black women are actually there's actually at least it's like 2 to 2.5 times more likely, not more likely, that for the stats that do commit homicides per 100,000. So even black women are 2.5 times more likely to commit homicides than white men. And then in 2024, it went down for white men to 6.9 average per 100,000. For black men, 50 to 60 per 100,000. Women, white women, 2.2, 2.5 per 100,000. And then black women, 15 to 16 per 100,000. And so, anyway, it's just very interesting. There's other things I could talk about. I gave a few people that video of that veteran calling out the possibility that Tim Pool may have made up that alleged shooting. And if he did that to me, again, it's just like, it's like, what is it? Schmally or Schmooly, whatever that guy's name was, that also faked that shit. Come on. That's stuff that the left do. On that note, I will leave it at that. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.